Hey everyone, this is Cindy at An Open Door. It is August 14th, and this is the hour we have entitled Finding Truth Everywhere, where I was almost going to use the word assign. I don't know if that's the word, but we've scheduled a podcast. We invite everybody to spend time with it, and then we come and have a conversation about how that podcast has affected us and where the truth lies and all sorts of things. I've had a very different experience with this conversation. And I'm going to share just a little bit of the pointings um, and then open it up for conversation. And I have pages of notes in case nobody else wants to talk, which I'm not really expecting to be the case. The song I am inspired to play is one that touches my heart. It's Kirtana's song, Ramana's song. It's just the song, it's not an audio. Um, if you haven't heard it before, enjoy. If you've had, enjoy. It's one of those songs I can't hear enough. So it's about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and then open it up. So here we go.
Why do you seek the path that leads away deeper into the woods when home is your aim? Why do you pitch your tent on foreign land? Turn toward the south, go back the way you came. Enter with love the temple of your heart. Heart is the holy sanctum where I reside. Offer to me the ruby of your mind. That is the sweetest offering, a mind that has died. Be still and know that I am. I am that I am. Be still and know that I am. I am that I am. Knowing the world is formed to be a dream, fashioned from consciousness, the mind is quelled. If everything that is only self, how can you be attracted or repelled? Give up for good tomorrow, which is false. Immerse yourself and dwell in the heart instead. And in the presence of that holiness, do not even raise your head. Still and know that I am. I am that I am. Be still and the necklace that never left your neck? Why not end the ceaseless stream? And enter with love the temple of your heart. Heart is the holy sanctum where I reside. Offer to me the ruby of your mind. That is the sweetest offering, a mind that has died. Be still and know that I am. I am that I am. Be still and know that I am. I am that I am.
This this podcast is 1 hour and 20 minutes long. The whole thing is, I didn't realize when I assigned it that I had watched it once before many years ago. And I took notes, and there's a lot of things I could share. There's a period in this podcast that begins right around the 50-minute mark. Papaji is talking about the experience of bliss, and if you as a human being are experiencing bliss, that's a very, very good thing. If you're in bliss, then freedom is calling you, and once freedom has called you home, that's when the real journey begins, and you'll be very, very happy. And it goes until this period about 4 minutes after the hour, where the interviewer asks him about the different people that come to the satsang, and does he see, I can't remember all the words, but he ends with the fact that he knows it's a, this last few minutes, very, this idea that we are in bondage or in prison or tethered is a joke. And he just starts laughing. He says, show me the tethers. And if somebody comes, anyone that comes to him, he offers atonement or absolution. He's not speaking as an individual, and he invites everybody into his heart. He says, just come and sit in my heart, and we'll have a conversation there. Within these 14 minutes, he's asked, I don't know, the gentleman asked questions about quiet mind and no mind and dead mind or something, but Papaji goes off into this. Right after he was talking about no mind, he goes into this space of saying, I've never received this question about no mind before. It makes me very, very happy. This is the part that I've been, the first time and maybe the first two times I listened to this part, it was very confusing here. The whole body's shaking, by the way. He says, let's start by talking about what mind is and consciousness. And he talks about this idea that I've heard people talk about and that I've accepted as a concept over and over and over again. This idea that there's consciousness and there's a desire that arises in consciousness to know itself, to have an experience of itself. I've heard this described in so many ways. Every tradition talks about why are we here? Somehow, I don't know, I might have listened to this now 8, 9 times in the last couple of days. What rises in consciousness is just the desire to know itself. And in that desire, this I arises, this first word, I. And that I is mind. And I spoke a couple of days ago about how this contemplation, what our words are. I heard after spending a day or so with that, that all words are flowers. I tried to change the words, but all words are flowers of this first word, I. And we dance with the flowers. Um, and all the hair on my body, by the way, standing up my arms, and there's a chill that's flowing through, an energetic chill that's flowing through the sensitive body right now. So the original word I is what created mind, is what he said. Now, something calls you into this experience, it's going to end, right? Something's calling you. You know, consciousness had this experience of the I, of knowing itself, and you come back and you are in this place where everywhere you look is just the I. I am the flower. I am the ground. I am the beings. You know, only everything is I. And then he says, I don't know how it happens. I don't know how it happens, and I don't know how long it takes, but that I is absorbed back into consciousness. And then he said, but that's not the end. I don't remember his quite words, but that's not the end. The I is absorbed back in consciousness. That's not the end. Identity remains, right? And then we're of, at some point in this conversation, he states, you know, he talks about some people can't handle the love and the freedom that exists during this stage, and they go back. Others are free, and if they remain in their body at that point, it's pure service for however long, but you won't care, you know. Um, he showed the cup, and it was funny. I was talking to Diane this morning. She's not here, and she said, I don't remember this part. He holds the cup in this description of no mind, and he says, here's the cup, and inside the cup is ether, and outside of the cup is more ether. The ether outside the cup, the ether inside the cup is the same thing. The cup is the I, which he's defined as mind. It has form and shape and structure, width and depth. And in this practice, this cup goes away, but nothing's really changed. The ether's inside the cup is the same as the ether outside of the cup. It's just the experience of what's inside and outside changes. So I'm still being informed by this. I still may, I don't know if I've lived, just being with Papaji is seems to be enough here along these stages. Yesterday, while I was on my walk, just in my neighborhood, I saw two dog walkers that are very unique to my typical experience because both of these walkers and the dogs, they tend to stay away from me. Most of the dogs in this complex and we have relationships, and I have relationships with the owners, and um, but these, seeing both of these dog walkers, the walker and the dog, and knowing I have a different relationship with both of them yesterday, I just noticed that, right? Somehow it came to my noticing. This morning, I was not in my complex. I was elsewhere, and I was walking down the side of this road. It's a houses on both sides. And I see this woman walking towards me, and she's walking two small dogs. And I had seen her once before, but they were on the other side of the street, and I didn't think much of it. We're getting closer to each other, and my intention was to step into the grass and let them walk, and I was going to smile and wave and connect, right? We're coming towards each other without ever looking at me. She just drifts to the other side of the street, and the dogs walk with her. Nobody acknowledges my presence. Not the dogs, not this person. It's like I wasn't there, right? And I'm watching. There wasn't a huge, like I didn't contract and get upset. I didn't scream at her, who do you think I am? Nothing. I just noticed this inner disturbance of feeling invisible, of feeling like a ghost. Like, for a second, the mind wanted to say, what do I smell? Like it was such an odd experience. But then during my diet this morning, that experience dropped into this teaching. And I'm like looking down and I'm attempting to find the I. Where is the me? Where is the me who had this experience? Where is the I separate from consciousness who was invisible? And as I'm sharing this with you and I'm sitting in this, I can tell you that there's an energetic response to it. Like the body is feeling really kind of all sorts of different. I can't even tell you. The body right now is feeling cold and hot. There's a sense, sometimes I describe it like a grape is becoming a raisin. There's a little bit of a, none of this is unpleasant. I'm just sort of noticing it. But the question, like, where is the person who I seem to be identifying with who had this experience? And I'm realizing I can almost replay that 30-second experience, sort of like I was replaying the Papaji um, clip with just this, what is here? This that literally was this feeling of not being seen, but who was not being seen? And every time I ask that, I'm watching just this energy sort of flow and see it all in a different way, like just dropping it into this teaching. If every moment is a gift, and that experience wasn't somebody snubbing Cindy, but an opportunity to see how whatever it is I am is holding on to the sense of the separate self. And can I use this moment to undress that a little bit? So that was number one. The other thing I wanted to, is it really true? I need to be seen. Yeah. Who is the I that wasn't seen, held within this teaching? The second thing, and it's Helen too, Kendall, so thank you. Um, in this 14-minute clip, he's identifying this no mind as in between. He kept saying it's the in between. And for the life of me, I couldn't grasp what that meant. It made no sense. And then in my conversation with Diane and in the dyad this morning, she brought up one of Helen's teachings, which is this idea that instead of focusing on the object, to focus in between. Like this is one of the first Helen teachings that attracted me to it. Helen says, be in the awareness of the space between who you believe yourself to be and the object that is not you. So instead of focusing on the object or focusing on me in relationship to the object, place attention on what's in between, the space in between. Just be there. And it dropped this morning that Papaji kept saying enough times for me to hear it. No mind is in between. It's the in between space. And Helen, as an exercise, resting attention between the subject, who I think I am, and the object of awareness. Instead of focusing on the relationship between the two, place your attention in between. And so for me, it feels like they're speaking the same thing. Like it's not Cindy having been totally unseen by and it wasn't even the person, by the way. People can do whatever they want, but two dogs like not even noticing like that doesn't happen. Dogs love me, right? What's in between that? To drop in between. Um, so that is alive here to discuss. And then the third thing, which just, Papaji was talking about, how do you know if it's your teacher? Really, really, really appreciated this pointing. And because he said you need a guru, but then he said a guru doesn't have to be in a body. And I love that stuff. But he said if you're in the presence of somebody who you call a guru or they call themselves a guru, and you're in their presence and you discover that you're silent inside and expand it, and that's your teacher. Or at least it's your teacher right now, right? So that's the third thing I wanted to make sure I said before I open it up. So like I said, I could probably, you give me a moment in this podcast and I probably have something to say about it. But those were the things that I wanted, that I was inspired to really share before I open up the conversation. So I'm opening up the conversation, please. Doc, is there anything you want to say? Well, did you get a chance to listen before in case your internet dies? Were you able to listen to the podcast? Maybe your honest got something to say. First, Melanie, please.
I'll step up there. Yeah, it was a lot to absorb. And maybe just 2 points I wanted that struck me. And when you were speaking about no mind, and I don't know if I got this right, but this is where I had this aha moment. He was talking about the mirror. Well, he was talking about the mirror and the dust on the mirror. And I took that the mirror is your mind, and the dust is, maybe I just took that as being adding more thoughts, more beliefs, and even concepts. It's not going to clear the mirror by adding more concepts. And then he said you take away the mirror, which would be no mind. And he also said then turn around. And if you turn around, if you're looking at a mirror, you're seeing all the stuff, actually you're seeing what's reflected in the mirror. You're seeing reflections. You're not seeing the real thing, the source. And you turn around and you recognize the source is what I am. And so the no mind is confusing because we don't see, it keeps us from seeing the source. So you take away the mind, and then what's left is just the source, is the presence. I don't know if that's kind of how I took that. And then I saw a quote about, I saw something about repentance. I just made this connection between these two, repentance. And they said in Christ's time, repentance meant turning around and seeing life anew. So it's kind of that sense of, turning back and recognizing that everything, where the true source is what I am. I don't know if that made any sense. And one other thing I wanted to mention was he talked It struck me. He talked about dawn, bliss and dawn. And it made me recognize, faith. The dawn is brings bliss because the sun is always there and it's going to be rising, even though you don't see it. It's not visible, but it's there. You know it. And so bliss is just kind of that reminder of what is always true. It's just not visible.
So did you hear him say take away the mirror? Because I heard him say break the mirror.
Oh, I heard him say remove the mirror, but I
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying that either one of us. I heard break the mirror.
Okay, well that works. But then something about holiness reveals itself.
Yeah.
Something like so. Yeah, when you're not using the mind, or the mind isn't, and then holiness reveals itself because there's nothing interfering with what. No filters. It's just.
And I love the definition of repentance. I hadn't heard it before, but as you were sharing it, I heard in my mind the guides. The guides keep talking about a world anew, right?
Oh, right.
The
Yeah.
name of their last published book is A World Anew. So it chills here again with this, turn around and see things anew. Supposedly
Yeah.
that's a big part, being willing to let go. I mean, the guides keep saying you can have a new world, and all it'll cost you is everything you thought you knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Hi, Alka.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Morning. Afternoon. I just wanted to say about this removing the mirror didn't make any sense to me before, but I was doing this investigation of who am I, and at some point, going through the body and thoughts and whatever, and at one moment the distance collapsed, and I realized how simple it is. It didn't last and was there for not even a second, happened again, not even for a second, but it showed me how simple the whole thing is. And now I understand what he means by remove the mirror. But it's, he can say it, but unless it happens to you, it doesn't, I don't know how you remove it. When I was doing the thing, it just happened, not because of anything I did, but it happened. So it's good advice, but how do you do it though?
Every time you say, how do you do it? I hear Papaji in my head saying, be quiet, which is the
That's
title of the.
exactly what I was doing, being quiet, and it happened. And the beauty of it was that in that second, I saw how simple everything is. We don't need to run after anything, have any techniques or anything like that. But if I hadn't done all the techniques and arrived here, how I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Well, the other
So
thing that's coming up as I'm listening, it's so beautiful how we have all these different teachers intertwined, right? So the other thing that's coming up, and I don't know if you've listened yet, but the Sat song, and I think Amy sent me Helen Hamilton Sat song. Amy sent me an email going, best one yet. We listened to it last night. And part of what Helen's sharing in this Sat song last night was at some point I had to fire myself because I'm not doing it. It's being done, right? And and then she said, then I went through this period of feeling, oh my God, did I just waste the last 20 years and all my spirit? And she's like, no, that was just consciousness using those experiences to do whatever. But this idea that I'm the one doing it, realizing that that wasn't true, what freedom. So if you haven't listened to Helen's Satsang that we listened to yesterday, I could one of us, maybe Rana, maybe myself, who knows, is going to drop the link to the Helen Hamilton stat song we listened to last night. It points to just what you're talking about.
Yeah, more and more I realize that I really don't do anything at all. It's just being present. That's all that's needed. And it's like this Helen's thing about the in-between bit. And I've just realized that this expansion that happens to me, which I don't do anything to do it, but that's what's happening then is I'm seeing the in-between. That's all. And it's only just I've realized that's what's happening. That I'm sitting in with lots of people talking, and suddenly there's this expansion. And what is happening is that I'm seeing the in-between and nothing else. It's and again, I haven't done anything at all to make it happen. But anyway, that's all I have.
Like
Okay, I'll
even the
stay with you.
decision you and I have to go to the diets as often we do. Like who made that decision? You know, isn't it just grace or love or whatever you want to call it, pulling us into what is happening? But I no longer take credit for the decision,
Mm.
the motivation or the intention or showing up every day. You could say thank you. People say thank you all the time. And I say, I've now learned, Sandra, to say you're welcome, but I still, because I'm not resisting anything, but I still don't know who it is that's doing it. And the
That's
more I
true.
relax into knowing that I don't know who's doing it, the more fun it becomes.
I think it makes sense. You take one step on the path and the divine makes 10 steps towards you is starting to make sense to me now.
But I'm
You
also
pulled in.
questioning who took the first step.
You see, this is where, Amy's lesson, what was it? My divinity is my salvation? Or something like that from the training wheels.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got the words wrong, but it was something like that. That my holiness is my salvation. And this is what comes to my mind when you say, who took the first step? And this is what comes to my mind. My holiness is my salvation. Uh, thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous. All right. I'll drop in. Did you see that, Alka? Do you want me to get you the podcast link? The Helen Hamilton. You're still muted.
Is it in the chat?
No, not yet, but I'm gonna get it while somebody is
Please.
about to unmute. And I don't even know who it is. Isn't that cool? It's gonna share next.
I am being quiet. And I love that he said that several times. And um, I really resonated with whatever teacher makes you go silent. And that is Helen for me right now, for sure. And they both said the same thing. The infinite self has been recognizing itself. And Helen said clearer and clearer last night. And so what I was able to see there was there's not a Rana going through all these events and experiences. There's a consciousness that forgot who it was and is, experiencing this play or whatever, and then coming to understand who the true self is. as Cindy was sharing her story about the dogs, right? What popped in my head is you aren't there, you know? If I identify with the personal self identity, that's an illusion. And so that's not really what's going on. So there's really no Rana there. You know, I'm just I'm nothing. There's an observer. There's silence. And then the silence seems to be filled with appearances, form, sound, thought, emotion. But silence is what is there. That is the space that for me, that right now I'm looking at that as the gap between those two things that you were speaking of earlier. You know, God is in the gap. I remember that teaching coming up several times in the last year or so. And it is that in between space. It's like the do over. It's like, yeah, reset, reset, reset. And then just whatever arises there is the play of it. I'm really enjoying this game of watch out when I refer to anything as mine or my. I'm really enjoying that. I've been doing that for a day or so. And just questioning that. That's been the inquiry. What makes me think this is mine? Nothing is mine. You know, there have been little clues about that all along for me because at one time when I was speaking about my children, someone suggested that they were on loan to me, that they're not mine, you know. And so that was the first little raindrop, you know, to suggest that, you know, and now I see that in an event like that is just consciousness coming to know itself. The realization is, oh my gosh, I am so much more than this limited form named Rana. It's just a label like the cup. Rana is a label. And that's what I got from the cup part, you know? The inside and the outside, those are just two names for the same thing. And the only thing that has created that boundary is that cup edge, which doesn't exist either. So neither does, you know, it's all one thing. And it's perception. Am I looking at or am I looking from? So when I shift to where I'm looking from, perception can change. There's no difference between the inside or the outside of the cup. There's no difference between inside this body, like we're always do the inner work, you know? Where is that? So I'm just having fun. It's all the same. It's all consciousness playing the game. And boy, do I take myself so damn seriously sometimes, especially when I think I'm Rana and this is mine and these are my rights and my expectations and my preferences and my opinions. Woo! That cements a boundary right there. And don't you just feel the door close when I'm in that space? It is not open for anything new. It's, I know what's going down because I remember how it was the last time. It's so funny. So, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun this week with all of these teachings. And I'm grateful to be on the path with you beings.
While you're mentioning having a lot of fun, as before I hand things over to Patricia, how do you like this idea that if you're laughing, you're not thinking, and if you're not thinking, there's no mind? And that entire story about that very prim and proper Zen master with one lung who was told never to laugh and never to climb steps, showing up at the satsang and laughing for hours and climbing up and down the stairs and knowing that he was healed, but he didn't do anything. And so this master, Japanese Zen master, goes away and sends his students, and they're asked in Japan, so what is this Papaji's teaching? And they just start laughing because the only thing that was done while they're in satsang was laugh. So if you're laughing, you ain't thinking. And if you ain't thinking, there's no problem to solve. And an interesting pointing for those of us who take ourselves too seriously. Hey, Patricia.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. And as this person running around in this bodysuit who takes herself too seriously or takes life too seriously, I'm traveling back to the States in mid-September, and I'm having a hell of a time trying to understand this flight stuff. It's making me a little nuts. It's such a problem. And then I thought of listening to Helen last night. It's not a problem. Just get out of the way. So I got out of the way, and I remembered someone whom I knew who makes her living as a travel agent. I thought, there we go. Problems as soon as I got out of the way, mind you. And that really helped. And I was thinking about the gap. The Papaji, I really enjoyed that. Although it was long, it was really good. And I look forward to listening to him some more. And there was something else I wanted to tell you about, but I forgot. So there you go.
When you remember, you'll tell us.
Okay.
In a day ago. And then I'm just going to let you know that's what's on my heart, is to give space for Amy to share, because we're not going to see Amy later. And that it's going to be crazy doing the Avita and ACIM without Amy. So I am inspired to at least invite Amy to take some time here to share whatever's on her heart. But first, Nadego.
Hi, so great to be here. I love being here. So for me, I just love to just stop everything, and get quiet, and know that everything is here for me, and that everything is God, and everything is love. And I love Ramana's teaching of where he stopped talking for 2 years. I just love that. Yeah, so I love just stopping. I love stopping. Just stopping everything. That's, to me, that's where my heart wants to go. And I just love being here with all of you. Those are my loves. So thank you.
Maybe Patricia remembered what she was going to say, or something else came up.
I did remember what I was going to say. I have been reading the Gnostic Gospels again, and I am just struck by the ancient teachings that go before the Gnostic Gospels, and it all says the same thing. It's like God is within. It's that repetition of that thought said in many ways and in many languages, but it says the same thing. It's not just Jesus or Thomas or Mary Magdalene or whoever else, but it's been so there all the time, and we just are remembering it now over and over and over again in these bodysuits that we're running around in 2025. But back in 20 or 200 AD, they were talking about the same thing. It's all the same.
Kind of cool. Sameness is a big part of this chapter. When we look at the non-dual teachings in A Course in Miracles, the Holy Spirit sees us all as the same. Something I've highlighted for this afternoon. Hey, Amy.
I am finding myself in this space, and I know you all know what I'm talking about because I know you all have the same experience, where you kind of reach this plateau in your understanding. And so you don't have to do anything. The plateau that I have reached is seeing the practice of seeing everything as being the all, including this limited awareness. And getting comfortable with, I don't know what I am because I'm not equipped. I don't have the headset. You know, when people have near-death experiences, they say they can see 360 degrees around. I'm not there. I'm having this experience because the all that is has decided this is how it wants to express itself through this extension of itself that is this experience. I barely even want to call it Amy, just whatever this experience is. And I'm speechless. There isn't anything to say. And what comes up for me when I say that is the enormous wellspring of love I have for this group of all that is that seem to have met wherever it is we're meeting, because I can say this to you and you know just what I'm talking about. And I'm observing over this past year at how we have grown together. We're talking about things that we would not have talked about a year ago. We're talking about the gap now. We're talking about silence now. We're talking about having the experience of no mind. And each one of us sharing in his own words what that experience feels like. It makes me want to cry with appreciation. And Indigo, I cannot say enough for the teaching. Everything is here for me. It's all here for me. I am that I am, and it's all here for me. And it just arises, and I don't have to do anything with it. And how much time of my day can I move and live and breathe and be the experience in that awareness without ending it, just having it flow and flow and flow. And I don't do it unendingly. I don't, but it's in my awareness as that's becoming my go-to, whatever me is. When I'm and Rana, God, the wisdom that comes out of Rana just Rana just explains it so well. And I'm so grateful for that. So I just am just sitting here in gratitude and love and appreciation. And I, go back to the old Amy here. I just noticed how that talk was, it's all in the masculine pronoun, and it's all he, it's all he, it's all he. And that still is a trigger for me because I'm just kind of like, what the fuck? I'm not a he, you know? And then, the ego can get into shame and blame about that. Well, don't you know that they're talking about everybody, everybody. Well, that's not true either. Um, but anyway, that's just a little phase I go through. uh, yeah, and then I think about Helen, and I go, how much I appreciate her. So that's where I am. I'm just in appreciation for all of you and how just the wisdom here in this gathering space, every single one of you. I just am so grateful. I love us, love us, love us. And Cindy, maybe a little bit, but yeah.
I wonder what Livy Love's going to say. She'll let us know. She unmutes.
Yes. Hey, everybody. And Amy, you are so right on. I have been telling Rana for as long as I can remember that how much I appreciate. I'm talking about from Teachers of God, that I've appreciated how clearly and user friendly she makes a lot of this in her clarity when she shares. And it's such a gift. And I'm kind of glad you shared what you shared, Amy, because when I first started listening to this podcast, I have to say that the first thing the mind did was go into judgment, because the young man that was interviewing him, I just thought, oh, you can't be serious. I mean, it didn't just, yeah. I immediately, judgment came up with the way he sounded and everything. And what I'm grateful for is that may have been the first thing that came up. And I'm grateful to say right behind it was, really? So you're going to prevent yourself from, so that's another block for me to love's presence, is judging something as, oh, that's not pleasant to my ear or whatever. And then to recognize you're blocking yourself from hearing and something, some things that are very important. And so I'm grateful to, yeah, because a year ago, oh, I would have just like turned it off. Just been like, I'm not listening to this, and now it's not confusing the teacher with the teaching that we talk about all the time, and to be willing to sit and hear what the message is, no matter how it's being presented. Now, if you fly in my face with something, that's a whole different thing. But, and I'm just teasing, of course. But anyway, thanks so much for bringing that up, Amy, because that was definitely, so I got a good opportunity to practice. So thank you for letting me share.
So, well, just 30 seconds before Mel speaks. Can't wait for Mel to speak. Right around the end of that 14 minutes that I kept listening to over and over again, when the interviewer said, so, are you saying that the divine whatever is commanding you to do satsang, right? Papaji's answer when he started laughing was feminine. I don't know if you caught that. You, she, you, what's the difference? He said, she, and all of a sudden it got really feminine. And he started talking about grace and the grace that flows through, and everything's grace, and it all got real soft and open. But when he talked about what truth was and what consciousness was, and the wisdom that flowed through, his he started saying she. So he's wasn't caught on the first round or maybe even the second round. Papaji, communicated that as a feminine energy. Just hey, Melanie.
Oh, I was just going to mention it's Gangaji. Gangaji was his student, right? And I really,
Gangaji and Muji, both.
oh, and Muji too. Okay, because she's really, I really appreciate her her expression of it too. She had a great depth and more clarity. I don't know. And being a woman too. Sometimes I really appreciate our women gurus because it's been so dominated for so long. And I think, just the feminine brings so to something more. And Cindy, I've been reflecting on your, invisible experience. And I remember asking Helen one time about she says in her book, there is no incarnation. There is no incarnation. Everything is formless. That's the essence of everything. And so that you're not that's I think it's so cool that you were there, and yet it was just the essence was there. And so she was in the form, in walking the dogs in form, which I don't know, I'm not what I'm saying, but I'm saying the essence was what was always being expressed, or I don't know.
Using at least the guidance right here, and who knows, I could change my mind in a heartbeat, but the guidance right here is to sink into Helen's teachings with that experience, because there still is this sense of something here that wants to be seen, right? And so here is an experience where whatever that energy is felt unseen. So using this experience sort of as a contemplation question, is there really something here not being seen? Feels just within Helen's teaching again, of being with a question and not being attached to the answer and allowing the energy of like not being seen, not being heard, and whatever to come up. And also to just be able to replay that experience and look for the one who wasn't seen. Like I can even feel like two north poles of a magnet attempting to touch each other within just that statement. Like I can know that I'm not going to find anyone, but there's a resistance to the looking, that there's a curiosity, like what is resisting being in that contemplation. So absolutely, it feels like a gift beyond measure.
Mhm.
Thank you for seeing that, Melanie, and bringing it back to awareness. Amy.
Just really quickly, I cannot believe that we're almost at the end of this hour. I'm wondering if it might be helpful to look at it as the natural attribute of wanting to join, the natural attribute of wanting to wanting to join, and rather than as, oh, I wasn't seen and I need to get over the fact that it upset me that I wasn't seen, or that I had discomfort over not being seen, as, oh, that was my natural attribute of loving to join. And I wanted the opportunity to join. And and being just, a glass half full or completely full kind of way of looking at it. Just want to throw that out there.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely there. There's no question. All right. Well, that's an hour. Crazy, right? And someone crazy. And I'm just saying this out loud. There's such an impulse here to say, but Sandra, you didn't speak. But and I'm resisting it. But the invitation.
I love all of you. I love just marinating in your wisdom.
All right. I'm gonna stop the recording. We are meeting again in 3 hours for about the non-dual teachings of A Course in Miracles. And for whatever reason, Cindy's facilitating that conversation today because Amy will not be there. It's going to be very interesting.
I'm going to send Cindy the opening and closing invocation so she can read that if she wants to, and then just several sentences in the that just really piqued my interest. But you guys will have a great time. I know you will, and I'm going to be thinking about you while I'm sitting in my meeting.
All right, let me stop the recording.
Yeah.